Hello, everybody. This is DW, and we're just glad to have you on the call this evening. This is the Doctor's Clinic. And last week we absolutely had a blast with Dr. Kurt Fisnick, and he just he's a life changer, and he's been just an individual who's impacted a lot of people. He's going to share a little bit of his story. We've got some testimonies tonight. We're going to jump into a subject and just that we started with a little bit last week, and and get into that in just a few minutes. But Doc, I tell you what, a lot's been happening in Sisel, and Miss Helen and I, we got our diatomic hydrogen water proton generator system today, and actually this evening. I had 2 glasses. Miss Helen's had 12, so we'll see what happens to her later. And we're excited about that. But the call that was done last night with Tom Maurer and the Sisel Connect that Aaron does, the call that we do each and every morning with Dan Kinnison and the Wake Up with Sisel call, and the call we did last week with you at the Doctor's Clinic, just from your perspective, as someone who builds a business and someone who also participates and helps with these calls, what's the value? And what will a call like a Doctor's Clinic call do for someone who's putting their business together, or a Sisel Connect call that we do every Monday night, or the Wake Up with Sisel call that we do each day?
Well, DW, that's a really good question. And I'll tell you what, I go back to when I was in my clinic and talk a little bit about that. Most health professionals, most medical doctors, chiropractors, they really don't like network marketers. And I'll kind of tell you the reason why. Too many times, those of you that are on the call tonight, those of you that participate in the calls like last night, and the calls with Dan Kinnison every morning, the wake-up calls, your team calls, things like that, just all the calls. Too many times, the network marketer has more information on a particular subject regarding the use of natural health products than the doctor himself or even the clinic. And so I found myself, when I graduated from chiropractic school back in the 80s, I graduated, I thought I knew everything. And, I at least knew enough to make myself dangerous, and I know how to treat most spinal conditions. But DW, when I was in the student clinic, I had clients that drove 3 hours one way just to see me there. And so I was able to finish up a year's worth of clinical rotations in just 4 months. And I was seeing a lot of referrals from my other patients, and I was taking on difficult cases that even the staff doctors in the clinic weren't willing to take on, just because I thought, you know what, this is real life. This is the stuff I'm going to say. And I'm not trying to brag or boast or anything, but I really lived my life with results-based healthcare, and that's why I chose Sisel, because we have some products here that really, really work. And every single time that I use them, every single time that I recommend them to people, I get reproducible results. And the testimonials that you guys all hear on these calls every single day, if you jump on the calls in the evenings and you hear testimonials, those are reproducible results that you can go out and you can get with people that you know. So DW, that's why I like getting on these calls, because facts tell and stories sell.
Well, and it's fun to get down to the details and talk about getting some of the results. And, you've seen quite a bit of results. And last week we jumped into the subject of ADHD, and it is on the radar for a lot of moms and dads and a lot of individuals who want to help their kids. And it's on the radar for people that, some call it advanced ADHD, the individuals who get older and their brains start slipping just a little bit, hasn't quite got to dementia maybe, or hasn't quite entered into Alzheimer's, but has gone through some of those precursors of it. And we dressed it with how the TSX, which I was very impressed with that. I didn't know until you taught us and brought it out and made it abundantly clear how the TSX can make an impact, and how the telomeres getting shorter tend to put someone in a situation where they could have some ADHD. But also, tonight maybe we can just go a little bit further and talk about ADD, talk about dementia as well, and some of the products that help. You mentioned TSX already. We know that Eternity and the Triangle of Life make a big impact. We know that the Encompass 360 makes a big impact. We know that also one of the products that helps a lot as well is the Super Omega Plus. But the real kicker that jumps in there and jumpstarts everything else and allows this thing to flow is a product that I want you to jump into. So what's your favorite product when you're talking about some of these things outside of the TSX?
Well, really, one of the products that, I think that really doesn't get touched on probably as much as it should is the Super Omega, is the fish oils. I remember going to a seminar probably 15 years ago, maybe even longer than that, but it was called The Heart's on Fire. And everybody thinks, it must be around Valentine's Day or something like that. And really, they were talking about inflammation of the heart. And they talked about nutrition for helping with the heart. And the omega-3s were the ones that they really touched on. And then a couple of years later, I went to another seminar put on by the same nutritional group, and they had a seminar called The Brain on Fire. And really one of the same products, talking about using omegas to treat the brain. But DW, Brain Vitality is such a powerful product that we got here. I mean, it's like, I love cars, and I love cars, and it's like having a supercharger on your nutrition for the brain. And cancer is one of those things that I guess I'm going to call it the medical machine, the business model of medicine. They've got us so believing that we're all going to have cancer. I know one of the things that Tom talked about last night was that they're saying by the year 2050, which is just 35 years from now, by the year 2050, they're saying that every single person will have cancer at least once in their life. And I'm just going, holy cow. I mean, that's a huge number. But they've got us so believing that traditional medicine and the business model of medicine that we aren't even worried about it anymore. We just accept it. It's just, we got to die of something. We're going to get cancer. So now what they've done is they've turned their attention to Alzheimer's and dementia and things like that. So now all of a sudden we're trying to come up with the same expensive treatments for this. But we'll talk about some of that cancer stuff at another time. But you pay attention to the news. Pay attention to the medical reports. And DW, you're going to find out that they're really putting a lot of information in on the fish oils and on products for the brain. And even some of the drug companies are trying to come up with their own version of a natural product, but they're going to call it a drug. And in America right now, they say that 80% of us are deficient on magnesium. And you can't just do a simple blood test. You can't go to the hospital and to your clinic and say, hey, could you check and see if I'm magnesium deficient? You can't just do a blood test because it's not what they call an intracellular fluid, right? It's not in your blood. Intracellular meaning in the blood, extracellular meaning it's outside the blood. So you can't do a simple test to see how much magnesium you need. So if you or I get admitted to the hospital, DW, when you were admitted to the hospital a year or so ago, one of the things that was in that IV bag that they gave you was magnesium because they just know that we're so magnesium deficient. And that's one of the main ingredients that we find in Brain Vitality.
So what you're saying then is the magnesium is an impact product. And matter of fact, if you don't mind, can we jump into that just a little bit and kind of look at our products concerning that?
You bet. Well, what's really cool is that when I look at magnesium, people ask me, because people are getting a little bit more aware, maybe a lot aware, that there's different forms of each vitamin. And there's some that are a little bit more helpful. There's some that are a little bit more what I'm going to call bioavailable, which means your body can use it. Well, magnesium threonate is one of the forms of magnesium. Most forms are slow to absorb or they're hard for the body to absorb and to use. But magnesium threonate is really, it's kind of a unique one. We learned because the brain is able to store new information, and how it does that is through new connections through neurons. These are called networks, and the process is known as neuroplasticity. But the process depends on the formation of these connections and it also depends on the number of connections that are available at any particular time. When the connections aren't there for us to use, the nerve cells can't communicate. That's when we have memory impairment, and in the aging brain, we really start to see that. Well, these connections are dependent on a number of things. Magnesium, as it turns out, enhances the activity of over 300 of the enzymes. It's a critical player in the activation of these nerve channels, and it's really critical in learning and in memory. Well, magnesium threonate, as it turns out, which is the type of magnesium that's found in brain vitality, it has the unique ability that it actually permeates through the brain cells, and it enhances the receptors involved in these processes, which is really, really cool for all of us that are using this.
So you're saying that magnesium threonate, is that the word you used?
Yeah, the magnesium threonate, yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure I had that down. When you're talking about brain vitality and using brain vitality, what else does it address when it concerns brain issues besides just magnesium deficiency is like it's ginormous. So talk to me, what else does it address?
Well, earlier I was talking about the heart on fire, and I was talking about the brain on fire. And they found that turmeric, which is an herb or a spice that you'll find in your spice cabinet, but they found that turmeric is very, very good for getting rid of inflammation. Well, they found another one called curcuma longa, which is real similar, but it's 6 to 8 times more bioavailable. So when we switched from using the turmeric to the curcuma longa, it actually improved the formulation of the brain vitality. And I want to say that was about a year ago, maybe a little bit more than that. And so we were able to go from having to take 4 pills a day down to 3 because it means the body can use it more effectively. And you'll find that when you're watching the same news, where they're talking about dementia and all that, you'll find that turmeric has really been in the news a lot. You'll find it on the natural news. You'll find it on a lot of the news channels. I watch Channel 11 up here in Fargo. I'll catch my news there, and they got a program they talk about health issues, and they'll bring it up quite often. Well, it's been found to help in brain health as well as helping with the inflammation, and I used it a lot in my clinic for the last 25 years. I've been using the turmeric in my clinic, and not just for brain health, but for a lot of different diseases, even for the gut. So when you start talking about the using the brain vitality, there's a big connection, and you'll hear me talking a lot about that food sends your brain a message. If you bring Helen a box of chocolate, right, and you open up the chocolate and she can smell it from across the room, she starts feeling better, right? And because food sends a message. Well, so does our nutrition and nutritional products, and so this product, like I said, it's like 8 times more powerful than using any of the turmeric products that are on the market.
So one thing I noticed that's kind of unique, and Tom just seems to always continually and consistently get it right. He took our brain vitality product, and it's pretty exciting because it was one of the first products that was launched after I just became a business partner a little over 2.5 years ago, and brand new out there. And our Encompass 360 has more, brain functioning ingredients than the average brain product you can go buy on the market out there. But Tom threw this brain vitality, and it wasn't too long ago that he just, found a couple other things, and turmeric was one of them, and a different way of delivering it, and up the potency and made it way just a way better product. And one thing he didn't do, he didn't dink with the price. I've seen companies come in there, Doc, and this is a little bit, kind of interesting, when they make a change and they add more ingredients and they make something more, they also throw the price up, and Tom didn't do that. So as a doctor, you've got to be kind of excited about that as well. I mean, it's just kind of a little side note here. Let's do this. When we jump into brain vitality and we talk about some of the ingredients, I've read a couple things, and we didn't get a chance to discuss this, but I really wanted to, so maybe we can do it tonight a little bit. it's also the brain vitality, and some of the ingredients that are in it will help people that are going through diabetic challenges. Is that true, or am I just reading into some research that is not quite factual?
You bet. DW, that's an interesting thing. Fenugreek was another herbal type product that I used in my office when people came in and they had type 2 diabetes. I would recommend that they started, we can't say prescribe because it's a natural product, but I would recommend using fenugreek for my patients that have type 2 diabetes. Well, it's interesting that now Alzheimer's is now being called pre-diabetes by a lot of researchers because they're finding that it has a lot to do with sugar metabolism and I'm going to say kind of glucose dysfunction. And so it's interesting that Tom put the fenugreek in the brain vitality product.
So some of that research is accurate. In other words, someone's going through some diabetic challenges or even sugar sensitivities, and everyone's going to. It's just not a matter if; it's a matter of when your body breaks down because all the sugar we put in it. One of the things that we can encourage people to jump on is the brain vitality. That's what I'm understanding correctly.
You bet. Yeah, I mean, just think about it. When I was talking about earlier that we've got ingredients that help out with gut health, and there's a big connection between the gut and the brain. There's a big connection between sugar metabolism in the brain. So it just makes sense when I started looking at Tom's formulation. Man, he really is a genius when he starts putting these ingredients in there because he's addressing issues that nobody else is addressing when it comes to brain health.
Well, I love it. And one thing, you kind of got my attention and got a couple of notes here. But, why you talked about magnesium and having a deficiency, and 80% of the people have it. So, I understand that, and we've known that for quite a while that there is a deficiency out there. But what does, what are a couple of the reasons for that deficiency? How does that take place? How does that happen? How does someone get deficient in magnesium?
Well, that's kind of an interesting subject. People who pay attention to my Facebook page, they noticed earlier in the week I was asking people, okay, what's the 3 major causes of stress and what's the 7 major symptoms of stress? Well, stress increases the body's need for adrenaline, and when you have a lot of stress going on in your life, which most of us do in America right now, we're stressed out because we watch the news and we're worried about, what's ISIS going to do? And then we watch the news and the economy, and it stresses us out. And then we're sending our kids to college, and, how expensive is that going to be? And we eat wrong food that causes chemical stress and this and that, every sort of thing. I mean, just traffic. You drive through a city. I was in Minneapolis last week, and I hate driving through cities. It stresses me out. But what happens is it causes an adrenaline rush, and that adrenaline drains the body of magnesium. So magnesium calms the nervous system. So if you don't have enough, you're going to have more stress. The more stress you have, the more magnesium you need. And you can see it just starts with this vicious cycle that it depletes your system. So you can hear me talk a lot about stress. Well, you take a look. One of the things we started talking about tonight right away was ADD and ADHD. Well, most of us as adults, especially guys, you and me, I mean, we have ADD. Most guys have ADD because of the neurotransmitters in our brain, the dopamine-driven system. But the number of stresses in our kids' lives, I mean, it's just amazing. And I watch, like when my kids were growing up, and I look back to when I was growing up. I mean, the stress that children go under increases with every generation. They got to get to soccer practice. They got to worry about their body image. They got to worry about the music. They worry about the math exam. They worry about peer pressure. They worry about Facebook, what people are going to say about them on Facebook. They're getting hit by stress with every single direction. Well, so here they have these kids getting hit with stress. It's causing that magnesium deficiency because of the adrenaline rush. All of a sudden now they're getting diagnosed with ADD and ADHD and even some even more types of diseases for the brain. But they're being born into a world where attention deficit disorder is just being diagnosed on an escalating rate. We can get into a whole other subject about the financial gains that some people have by having their kids diagnosed with ADD. Yeah, but that's another subject that we can talk about. And the the pharmaceutical drugs, man, they just start prescribing and prescribing. And a kid that's on Ritalin today, when they get to be an adult, you know, they're no longer diagnosed with attention deficit. Now they're diagnosed as being depressed. And so now we just take and we move these kids from taking Ritalin. Now we move them into taking, you know, antidepressant type drugs, the SSRIs and type things like that. And so one of the crucial things that I try and tell people is make sure that your kids are getting plenty of magnesium. Make sure that you're getting plenty of magnesium. But the other thing is that, you know, just nutrition. Our diets are full of processed foods, refined sugars. We got food additives. It depletes the magnesium, and what it does is it causes that increased stress. If you eat a bag of potato chips, that potato chips they actually scientifically designed the potato chips to stimulate your body to feel like it's under stress because you're going to crave more potato chips. They've taken and they've scientifically designed food to make it so that you want more food. And how they do that is making your body release the same hormones as if you're under stress. And so it causes problems with all this. It causes magnesium deficiencies. And DW, I mean, we can just go on and on and on for the next 3 days talking about it. But, you know, just watch the diet and make sure that you're getting the proper nutrients.
So you're telling me potato chips are bad?
Yes, put that bag down right now.
That is, potato chips and cookies are a little bit on the weakness on my charts. So that's kind of interesting. I'm like, oh man, you know, I used to love these doctor calls and these clinic calls, but I'm starting to wonder now. Everybody's like that. We all have things that you know that we love to put in our system, and you know, so and it just goes back to a quote that people hear me say a lot, but it's a quote from my dad, and it's this: the greatest gift you can give your family is your health. And so putting the right things in is investing in your future. Putting the wrong things in is probably limiting your future. But brain vitality, and that's a big one. I mean, there's nothing more frustrating than watching maybe a mom or a dad slip away, or a child struggling with you know, not being able to read as quick or as fast or catch on, or they're seeing like 3 TVs and they're all fuzzy screened, and then when they're on the brain vitality and the Omega Plus and Eternity and Compass 360, some of the things that we have, it just kind of like puts all 3 screens into one and takes away some of the fuzz. And so that's kind of interesting. You know, back to this ADD and ADHD, because that's kind of a little bit of our main focus tonight. But what does the magnesium do for a person that's in the brain vitality? What does it do for a person that's going through the ADD and ADHD?
Well, when you start putting in the right amount of magnesium, DW, what's really cool is that the kids and the adults, not just the kids, but the kids start to think more clearly, they concentrate better, they're calmer, because magnesium is a key factor in the production of something called serotonin. We've heard a lot of people talk about serotonin. What is it? They're saying now 50% of Americans, they're saying, are clinically depressed, and they talk about the brain chemicals. Well, serotonin is the primary neurotransmitter. It's the one that makes you have the feeling of calmness. It's the one that makes you have the feeling of well-being. But low levels of serotonin are associated with irritability and moodiness and depression. So when you start taking magnesium, it helps with the production of the serotonin. It's like one of the factors that you have to have that when you're making serotonin. And so the other thing that magnesium does is it helps the body's muscles to relax. And when you watch somebody who has attention deficit disorder, they're fidgety, they're sitting there, and they can't calm down. Any little distraction outside, you know, they see a car go by, they got to look, they got to see what kind of car was it. You know, when they see somebody playing basketball in the other room, you know, in the gymnasium, when they're concentrating, trying to do something over here, they got to pay attention to that. And so the magnesium helps them calm down. And then you start adding some of the other ingredients that we have in the brain vitality, and like we were talking about earlier, with the different things that get rid of the inflammation. And we got the ingredient that helps balance the sugars coming out of the gut. And we got the phosphatidylcholine, and we've got the bacopa. which helps with making healthy brain connections. So you put all these things together in one product, and like I said earlier, it's like putting a supercharger on your car. It just makes things work more efficiently, DW.
Well, I tell you what, a couple of the products that my dad personally loves, and then you know, his mother, my grandmother, was just awesome. But her last year or so of life, she really suffered with the Alzheimer's, and he loves and will not go without his Brain Vitality, and obviously the Encompass and Eternity as well. And so it's made a big, huge impact. You know what? Let's do. We're kind of winding down here just a little bit, even though I'm wound up. I don't know how to really explain that. I've been drinking that water while we've been talking. But Doc, you're awesome, and you know the Doctor's Clinic. We just love you, and so from your audience and everybody on the call, and those that are hearing this, just double hugs to you. And you're doing a fantastic job, and we appreciate you bringing this information so we can help moms and dads, grandma and grandpas. We can help little ones that are busting up through life and need to get rid of pressure and stress. But we've got you've lined up a couple buddies, and you've lined up Andrea from Bismarck, North Dakota, and so to do a little bit of a testimony. So Andrea, we want you to hit *6 in just a second here, or you can do it now, and get ready to share your testimony. But you've had some super results personally. Your dad's had some great results as well, and then and the Brain Vitality helped him with his Parkinson's. So that is kind of like a big deal. That is a big, huge deal for the callers that are listening tonight. We've got a few of our buddies that are challenged with that. And then you had a friend, Jess, that was just a basket case with the ADD before using the Brain Vitality. So, Doc, you want to bring Andrea on the call?
Andrea, are you there? Just hit *6, and DW will just talk to you a little bit.
Yep, I'm sure here.
Andrea, how are you doing?
I'm doing very well.
Okay, well, welcome to the call, and we're so glad you stopped your life, and now you get a chance to share what you stepped out by faith and convince some people to use and try and give it a go when it comes to this product. And there's some good results that you've had. So you want to share a couple things with us on some of those results?
Yes. I've always had ADHD from the time I was just a little kid, and thank goodness my mom always said, she's not going to drug me, and because in some cases, I guess probably everybody knows that kid that's maybe a little over medicated.
Yes, that's true.
And, so she just really wanted to encourage me to, just use other means and that sort of thing. And, as an adult now, I'm a business owner, and there's always stresses and there's always challenges. And it seems like when you're overstressed or overexerted, then things can really act up. And sure enough, at different times in my life, I go through spurts where I have a very hard time sleeping. And for anybody that has a hard time sleeping, that it's twice as hard the next day then to function normally. So, I mean, anything from, simple tasks like writing your name. If you have ADHD, like I do, your brain is 5 letters ahead of your hand, and you can actually misspell your name. And how embarrassing is that, So it's absolutely been life-changing for me to, in no way whatsoever does it make you slow, does it make you, sit in the corner and drool, nothing like that whatsoever. It literally just makes my brain feel like it's pumping on all cylinders and like, full sparks, full connections, just wonderful, able to concentrate, able to sleep, able to, deal with stressful situations. And, you kind of touched on it this past year. My dad went back to his Parkinson's doctor, and I went with him to his doctor's appointment, as I do a lot, and his doctor was just blown away by the testing that he did and all of the results that my dad has had. who is also taking the Brain Vitality, and for the past couple months, he just recently kind of started the Omegas as well. And so just simply by the Brain Vitality, he was able to not only not up his meds for his Parkinson's, which the doctor right there said that's almost unheard of. He was just over the moon with those results. And then my dad actually asked, would we be able to, because he has a fast release and a slow release. And so he was actually able to lower his dose of his dopamine meds that he was taking instead of the usual increase every year. And so the doctor literally, with a mouth wide open and eyes wide open, said to him, whatever you're doing, continue to do it because you're on the right track.
And that is the wow factor right there, That is the wow factor. So that's just amazing. Anything else you want to share with us on this?
Just an overall well-being feeling, and just, like things that I noticed with my dad. Sometimes when people have to take outside medications like a dopamine, he, is really was able to get his sense of humor back. Was one of the biggest things that I noticed when he started taking the Brain Vitality. He's quite a joker, so watching that come back more so, and just overall well-being was great. And for me, just knowing that I'm sleeping better, I'm able to handle day-to-day situations, and I'm not having to take outside medications with 50 to 60 side effects. You see these commercials on every day where at the end it kind of sounds like an auctioneer, and you're going to experience this, your foot's going to fall off, and death. It's always the same thing, and so I think, oh my goodness, and so by being able to take a product that I know, it does not have harmful side effects, it actually has wonderful effects, just really makes me feel good.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, when you have your dad get his sense of humor back, I mean, it's just that's a game changer. I mean, that's just a big deal, and so we're excited about that. Now, your friend Jesse, is that correct? Is that person going to talk, or do you want to tell us about that, or what's happening there?
I was not able to get a hold of her tonight.
Okay.
Yeah, she's one that's really fun to bring on and talk, because one of the first times we all met, she, much like myself, it just, it was a game changer, and what I saw in her was just, an overall calm and an overall just a different person. I tell people when I first met her, she was like letting go a little bouncy ball in a room, because, boy, she was all over the place. And lovely, wonderful person, but it's just wonderful to see her be that same bubbly, wonderful person, but be able to focus and be able to calmly talk to you and be able to tell you about things, because, that's just awesome to see.
Well, we just want to thank you for being on the call, and from the entire audience, just congratulations to your buddy and to your dad and to yourself, and now you have something that can go make an impact, and based on results. Results, though often are harsh, they're always fair, and the results that you're getting here are fantastic. So big double hugs to you as well. Dr. Kirk Fisnick, what a great call, and everybody that's got to participate. Any parting words, Doc, you want to say before we hop off and end this call? And kind of, I'm excited about obviously the diatomic hydrogen water with the proton generator and what it can do when it comes to nutrition. We're anxious to hear some of those results, but Doc Fizz, anything you want to say before we bounce off here?
Well, I tell you what, DW, the only thing I'm going to say on the diatomic hydrogen, I've been doing a lot of reading on it, and it blows me away. You are going to find healthier brain connections. You're going to find that it's going to lower your stress levels. You and Helen are just going to feel fantastic after drinking that. and it's gonna increase your longevity, and that's what I really like about it. Everybody that's ordered one, I mean, make sure and share that water with as many people as you possibly can. Have a water party at your house and get people to drink it, because not because you want to sell them a machine, but because you want them to live a long life along with you, and so that's really important. If you could, for everybody that's on the call, I'm going to give you my email address, and I'm always looking for good testimonials, because if DW and I are going to keep doing this call, if you want us to keep doing the call, I'm looking for good testimonials that I can use every week. So email me your testimonials, docfizz@me.com. So it's DOCFIZZ@me.com. Shoot me over your testimonials with your phone number, and then as we work into the different subjects, I think that we can try and bring some more people on, and maybe we'll go back and we'll touch some of these subjects over and over again as we go. And DW, I just love working with you. Thank you.
Well, you're absolutely awesome, Doc, and you're just amazing. Just the friendship we have, and what we get to do. It's time for everybody just to realize that you are a world changer, and you have products that are world changers. And you throw a little prayer on someone, you throw a lot of product at them, and you're going to get some fantastic results. From the Doctor's Clinic, we just thank everybody for being on the call tonight. Blessings to you. We'll see you next week, same time, same place, and get ready for a fantastic call. Talk to you soon.
Thanks.